Can a terror designation end a brutal war? We unpack the U.S. decision to label the Houthis as terrorists and explore the potential consequences. Welcome back to International Affairs. Today, we dive into a significant geopolitical development as the United States officially designates the Houthi rebel group as a terrorist organization. This decision, unveiled in response to a series of alarming events, marks a crucial shift in the U.S. approach to the conflict in Yemen. The primary catalyst for this decision stems from the Houthi rebels' relentless attacks in the Red Sea. These militants have launched numerous drone and missile strikes on U.S. military ships and commercial vessels, posing a direct threat to global trade and navigation. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan emphasized that these actions fit the textbook definition of terrorism, endangering not only U.S. personnel but also civilian mariners and partners in the region. In the next few minutes, we'll unpack the background of Houthi actions, explore the U.S. perspective, analyze international reactions, and delve into the potential implications of this designation. Stay tuned as we unravel the layers of this significant geopolitical development. Now, let's delve into the intricate history of the Houthi rebel group and their recent activities. The Houthi rebels, an Iranian-backed faction, have been a key player in the ongoing conflict in Yemen. Beyond their regional ambitions, they've openly declared support for Hamas, a move that escalated tensions. Notably, their involvement extended beyond rhetoric as they initiated missile launches at Israel and targeted commercial vessels in the Red Sea. These Red Sea attacks prompted a swift response from the United States and its allies. Concerned about the escalating threat, they strategically targeted Houthi-controlled sites in Yemen. Military strikes aimed to curtail the rebels' capacity to launch further attacks on both U.S. military assets and commercial shipping transiting the Red Sea. The U.S. and its allies view these actions as necessary measures to safeguard not only their interests but also global stability. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan emphasized the importance of holding the Houthi rebels accountable for their actions. The strikes on Houthi-controlled sites aim to disrupt their capabilities, sending a clear message about the consequences of their aggressive activities. As tensions in the region persist, it's crucial to understand the historical context of the Houthi rebel group and the rationale behind the U.S. and allied responses. Now, let's shift our focus to the perspective of the United States, as articulated by key figures in the government. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and the White House have been vocal about the reasons behind designating the Houthi rebel group as a terrorist organization. In a statement, Sullivan emphasized that this designation is not merely symbolic, it's a strategic tool aimed at impeding terrorist funding to the Houthis. The goal is to further restrict their access to financial markets and, crucially, hold them accountable for their actions. Sullivan went on to highlight the textbook definition of terrorism, pointing to the Houthi attacks that endangered U.S. personnel, civilian mariners, and partners in the region. The White House echoed this sentiment, emphasizing that these actions pose a significant threat to global trade, thereby justifying the need for decisive measures. What's noteworthy is the careful consideration given to the potential impact on the people of Yemen. The 30-day delay before the designation takes effect is a deliberate move to engage in conversations with non-governmental organizations (NGOs). This period is crucial for minimizing the adverse effects on Yemeni civilians, who are already among the world's poorest and hungriest due to years of conflict. Sullivan stressed that the people of Yemen should not bear the brunt of the Houthi actions, and this delay allows for a measured approach to implementing the designation. It also reflects a diplomatic willingness to consider alternative paths if the Houthi rebels cease their attacks in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. As news of the U.S. designation of the Houthi rebel group as a terrorist organization reverberates globally, the international community has not remained silent. Human rights and humanitarian aid groups have expressed significant concerns about the potential consequences of this move. The announcement has triggered apprehensions about exacerbating an already dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. With the country's 32 million people grappling with extreme poverty and hunger due to years of war, the impact of any sanctions is a pressing concern. These groups argue that designating the Houthis as a terror organization could result in a catastrophic humanitarian catastrophe, as it may hinder the flow of aid and worsen the already precarious living conditions. The UN estimates that war and misgovernment have left 24 million Yemenis at risk of hunger and disease, with around 14 million in acute need of humanitarian assistance. The U.S. authorities, however, contend that the designation is a strategic move to cut off international financial systems that the Houthis exploit. They believe that additional pressure on the group could compel them to distance themselves from Iran, adding a layer of complexity to the regional dynamics. It's a delicate balance between addressing security concerns and preventing a humanitarian crisis. The challenge lies in implementing sanctions that target the Houthi rebels without inadvertently harming the broader Yemeni population. As we continue to unravel the implications of the U.S. designation, it's crucial to examine how the international community responds to this delicate situation. To understand the gravity of the recent U.S. designation of the Houthi rebel group as a terrorist organization, we must delve into the historical context that has shaped this conflict. During the Trump administration, the Houthis were designated a foreign terrorist organization, a move met with strong objections from human rights and humanitarian aid groups. This designation marked a significant shift in U.S. policy, imposing stringent measures against the Iranian-backed rebel group. However, the concerns raised back then echo in the present. One major worry revolves around the potential complications this designation may introduce into ongoing peace efforts. Attempts to broker a peace deal in the war-ravaged region have faced numerous challenges, and designating the Houthis as terrorists adds a layer of complexity. The fear is that such a classification might further polarize the involved parties and hinder diplomatic negotiations. Moreover, there's a stark recognition of the dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. With 24 million Yemenis at risk of hunger and disease, and 14 million in acute need of humanitarian assistance, the stakes are incredibly high. Human rights and aid groups argue that any measures taken against the Houthis must carefully consider the impact on the already vulnerable Yemeni population. As we navigate through the potential implications of this U.S. designation, it's crucial to weigh the historical precedents and the delicate balance required in addressing security concerns without worsening the humanitarian crisis. In wrapping up our exploration of the U.S. designation of the Houthi rebel group as a terrorist organization, let's recap the key points that have shaped this unfolding narrative. We've witnessed the U.S. taking a decisive stance in response to Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, framing this move as a strategic tool to impede terrorist funding and ensure accountability. The historical context, with the Trump administration's earlier designation, adds depth to our understanding. Crucially, the 30-day delay before the designation takes effect reflects a diplomatic approach, allowing conversations with NGOs and minimizing the impact on Yemeni civilians. However, concerns from international quarters, especially human rights and aid groups, highlight the delicate balance needed to navigate security priorities without worsening Yemen's dire humanitarian situation. As events continue to unfold, there's a glimmer of diplomatic possibility. The U.S. has indicated a willingness to re-evaluate the designation if Houthi attacks cease in the coming days. This opens a window for potential shifts in the geopolitical landscape. In this ever-evolving scenario, staying informed is key. We encourage you, our viewers, to share your thoughts and insights in the comments below. How do you perceive this development? What potential ramifications do you foresee? Let's engage in a thoughtful discussion as we navigate through the complexities of this geopolitical puzzle. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, stay informed and stay curious.